Hello, this is Dr. Castleberry here with an asynchronous lecture. We're drawing from students' Q&A readings from the Week 1 assigned reads, Comm 2113, Media Culture and Social Influence. Let's look at a couple of quick questions from Nicolette. She first writes with regards to Berger's messages, in Chapter 1, what role do facial expressions, gestures, and pauses play in communication? Just trying to come up with this quippy number of responses I could give non-verbally, although things like even the tone of our voice, okay, the sounds and expressions, that we can formulate, these are all nonverbal expressions. And so there's often a trick question that we go through in a communication class, which is when which do humans practice more often, verbal or nonverbal communication? And I might give students a little bit of time to think about that process, formalize some ideas, and in fact it's overwhelmingly nonverbal communication. Well, Nicolette also writes, this book deals with the social aspects of mass media, page 4. When audiences are global, what tools does the artist use? Nice callback to Berger's focal points model. What tools does the artist use to ensure that their text is relatable to all audiences or society? So relatable, and key word out of that question is global, right? So how does an artist use tools to inspire a global audience and get that message across? And let's take entertainment for an example. We can talk about a mass medium like film and understand that universal storytelling tends to function at either a primal level or a highly semiotic level. I'll break down each of those terms. When I say primal level, like something, a film will operate at a level that's fundamentally human. And I don't know how many of us saw the 2019 film Parasite, which is a Korean production that did win Best Picture and Best Director at the Academy Awards, among other categories like screenplay. But this film deals with a lot of primal human qualities, and that the reason that it was so successful was its message translates across multinational borders and boundaries, and it speaks to us. So even though it was a foreign film that you have to watch with subtitles, these tend to just disappear when you get into the narrative and you really understand what that message is relaying. Next, to translate what I mean by a semiotic level, semiotics is the study of signs and symbols. So when I say at a highly semiotic level, I mean symbol-heavy level. Media texts that incorporate a lot of universally understood signs and symbols. And you could think about the way that modern blockbuster spectacles, right? These franchises, these film franchises that are kind of translations of popular ideas, whether it's like cartoons or comic books or whatever, they have that international appeal because they're refining these qualities, these storytelling qualities, down to these symbolic levels. All right, something like Transformers or the Marvel films, right? Even something like the Fast and the Furious franchise. And notice how it changed over time to something that's just so enormous. And it's almost like the logic of the plot and the accuracy of the plot, like in terms of could this actually happen or not, are just fade away. And instead we're left with these enormous set pieces and these larger than life characters, some of them artificially created, and we have to wrestle with how they transmit information to us. Well, let me quickly jump over. Jordan has a couple of questions I want to hit, and we're trying to do a speed round here as things are kind of hitting overtime at this point. Berger's messages, Chapter 1. Which model of the communication process do you prefer? That's a fun question, simply because if we'll look ahead, and we're getting into week 2 here, I happen to privilege Stuart Hall's encoding decoding model of mass communication, and Stuart Hall may get a little bit of a mention in this book, but we're going to get access. If you go to the content section at D2L and check out the reads for week 2, there's going to be some hyperlinks to PDFs, including Stuart Hall's famous encoding decoding essay, and then to help that, a follow-up essay that entitled Understanding Stuart Hall's Encoding Decoding. So you're going to get the heavy theory paper and then the translation of that theory using a pop cultural case study, and perhaps that'll answer some questions, right? So I'm linking that to future reading. Well, great job responding to the Cultural Studies Primer video, right? Looking at part 2, around 11 minutes, 9 seconds. How do you believe that identities are created? Wow, what a question. I can't get to a long answer here, but we'll give something. What influences them to become what they are? And I would say, how do you believe identities are created? And I'm reminded of something as simple as genre theory. We're talking about genres in this class. We talk about genres often in our degree program, and simply because it's a learning tool for us. But in genres, you're looking at this combination of imitation of a form that's familiar and then innovation upon that form. And similar to genre theory, through a combination of inherent and organic developments over time, our identities are created. And so what I mean is, most of what we form comes through impressions made in life, and impressions, made upon us by others. And we, at the same time, have a lot of emotional responses to stimuli in the world, things like the way we respond to food or love, or really the 5 senses. These things are hardwired into our DNA, so they are a part of that inherent process. We inherit certain things, but a lot of how we react to the world is shaped by what we witness, what we learn in life. Okay, and so really quick, let me do 2 final questions from Stephanie, and we will be on our way for today. Which form of communication is the most effective when discussing an important matter? Always, always, always face-to-face. And whatever's the closest approximate to face-to-face is going to get you there, because we are exchanging the most information in that setting. That is the setting in which we're least likely to have complications to that exchange. This is why we get off on the wrong page when we're text messaging, when we're emailing, when we're sending other types of forms of communication. This is why gossip breaks down communication. This is why the game telephone is such a learning tool used over and over again. Face-to-face communication allows us to fully have an opportunity to see and hear and respond to those. And then final question for the day. It's certainly not the final question we'll tackle. Messages chapter 1. Does the way people communicate change depending on their cultures, genders, sexual orientations, or social classes, or all? Okay, does the way people communicate change depending on their cultures, genders, sexual orientation, social classes, and mediums? All that? Sure, yes, absolutely. Our context matters, right? Our cultural conditions matter. It doesn't have to drive us, right? Go read Plato's allegory of the cave, right? We can find our way out of certain belief sets and social conditions, but generally speaking. All right, final question, T2. Does social media detach people from what they say to others, since they do not have to go face-to-face with the consequences of the words? I mean, it doesn't have to, but do we get more detached? Do we get more desensitized? Do we tend to say things we would never say out loud if we feel like we're protected by the confines of the internet, which is now the world's largest sort of platform of information that we share about one another? Yeah, and we tend to step in it when we do suddenly feel like we can say whatever's on our mind. And I mean, I find it, we could just endlessly look for and find that kind of content. All right, folks, we've got to shut her down, as they say, for today. We're going to be back in the future with some installations to answer your questions, to get into the nitty-gritty of these texts, and perhaps even help you find your voice in this process. You're already doing that through these excellent submissions. Continue to work hard. Reread, refine, revise your own thoughts and questions as they come in, and I look forward to reading and hopefully responding to them at some point.